saying there. So Eamonn, maybe just you pick up that point. I mean, you've never drunk, so or have you?
No, well, Caroline has basically said everything that I was planning on saying. No, I suppose for me, you know, that's the question I get asked an awful lot. You know, do you want to drink? No, I actually don't drink. Why don't you drink? And for me, it was a choice. Caroline hit on it there, and I'm probably going to repeat a lot of what Caroline spoke about. For me, when I was 15 years of age, I suppose I joined the county under 16 panel, and Cyril at the time, he actually was a selector involved and used to bring us in, pick us up. But you know, my first experience of a guy and drinking and everything else was when we got on the bus down in Colonia. We might have been going up to Blaine Leitrim or up to Blaine Fermanagh, and some of the guys would be talking about drinking. And they are guys of 15 going on 16 years of age, and I suppose for me it was an eye-opener. And it got to a stage where there was almost a level of peer pressure from everybody. They were almost forcing me to actually start drinking. And for me, I just didn't want to do it. I don't have an answer why I didn't want to do it. At the time I was 15, Caroline spoke about you were sort of the odd one out, you were sort of being ridiculed for being that. There was more than me that decided not to drink, but you could feel that, you could sense that pressure. And I can relate to exactly everything that you said there, Caroline, where you know it's almost not cool not to drink.
But did you find yourself leaving one peer group to become part of another peer group because they weren't the drinkers, they were the guys who did things in more?
Well, absolutely. I think you choose your friends wisely then as time goes on. I suppose for me, I come from South Sligo, a real country area where numbers were very, very small. And in my school, I had only 4 guys in my class, going from first class up to 6th class, and then we went on into secondary school. And again, the numbers were probably small. But some of my friends actually were choosing to drink. But as I call them friends now, then I just disassociated myself with them. I just didn't hang around with them because for me they didn't offer me anything. But for them, they just were. They thought themselves they were the coolest guys in the school and everything else. And like that, they used to talk and they used to say and brag about, oh well, I drank this and I drank that and I stayed up until 6 o'clock drinking. For me now, I've met a lot of those guys, and there was one guy in particular when I was 15 and 16, and he had a drink trouble and he had drink problems. And a lot of the guys that actually decided to start drinking because of the peer pressure have come to me, and I've met them down to the years and said, fair play to him, and you never drank. I wish I never drank. And I asked them the question, well, why did you? Well, it was the in thing at the time.
It's still the in thing.
And it's still the thing, and nothing has changed. And we talk about, we've always talked about it. Unless we change something, it will never change. The biggest thing that I've meet even nowadays is, you've been out with your friends, you're having a laugh, and I'm not the serious type of person. I know I can go out and have a good laugh without having a drink. You can take the mick and everything else that goes on with it, and I can go into a pub and socially speak with people and have a laugh about it. But a lot of my friends, and I suppose everybody here will probably have heard it, is that I had a great night last night, but I remember nothing. Now, for me, that line is pure nonsense, because I have picked up some of these guys in alleyways, asleep, mid, peeing in their pants, falling over the place, puking on themselves, and you'll meet to the following day and say, Jesus, I remember nothing, but I know I had a great night. And this is the philosophy and the psychological thing what Caroline touched on. It's like, it was cool to be doing it, and they needed to do it because to be seen doing the right thing. And it's not just 15-year-olds, it's up on 20-year-olds, 25-year-olds, 30-year-olds, and on and on and on.
And for, say, somebody who's a teenager who's just, I suppose, starting out on that road where they have to make the choice whether they're going to go and take that drink that their friends are telling them they should go for, or going down the route that you did. I mean, what do you think were the characteristics or the supports that you had in place at that age that you were able to say to yourself, I'm going to, obviously, consciously you're not doing this, but, the things that stood for you that helped you make the decision that you weren't going to go down and, I suppose, take the easy route?
I suppose at the time, I didn't really, looking back now, I understand. I suppose my mum and dad, they were teetotalers, but they both smoked. Now, I don't smoke. I just couldn't take it from them. I suppose subtly they were given, the lines about drinking and everything else, and I suppose psychologically, I was taking them in somewhere or other. Whereas at 15, you're not making decisions on that. It's just something I didn't like. I didn't like the people they became at 15 years of age. Like that, some people can get very aggressive, and some people can get very affectionate, and some people can just fall asleep. But I didn't like what happened to people when they actually got drink on them. So I just said, I couldn't trust myself what way I could go. So I just kept away from it. On the second note of it, the taste of it just didn't appeal to me either. Like, I did taste it to see what's it all about, and I just didn't like it. And I can relate to so many of the guys that have tasted it and forced themselves to go drinking because it was the cool thing. And behind it all, they actually don't like drinking, but they had to be seen to be doing the right thing. And for me, it was my decision back then. I just said no. I didn't mind about being different. It didn't bother me. And I associated myself with 4 or 5 other guys that also said no. And we've grown up together. And I have plenty of friends that do drink, and I've got very, very good close friends that drink. But just at the time, I just didn't want to be associated with that.
And I suppose if you are a teenager and you're impressionable, what you're probably saying is that you need to make conscious, hard, unpopular decisions, really, don't you, to reap the benefit ultimately.
I think it's an unpopular decision, you know what I mean, not to be seen. You talk about the cool car, and it's all right to say no. You know what I mean? It's not the end of the world. I think just people have to accept that you're making that decision, and fair play to you for standing up for your own beliefs and your own rights.
Now, you're involved with your own club, Tour de Strand, of course. Now, in terms of I'm not speaking specifically about the club, your club, but generally speaking, you have people whose responsibility it is, whether they want the responsibility or not, they're stuck with it, of coaching these players, not just with regards to their on-field activities, but of course if they're taking them away for, matches or weekends away or whatever, this thing is going to be out there on the horizon. So what do you say to them? Have you any advice to them as regards what maybe they should be putting in place without again forcing the issue with young people to make the choices for them?
It's just awareness. I think that's the most important thing, that people have the choice. We don't have the answers there tonight, and there's so much support like Colin and Karen and others that speak of their experiences and speak of the facts and have the facts and figures, but it's very, very difficult to sort of put your finger on it. But it's to educate the young people that they have a choice. Drink is readily available. We know you can go into your local off license and get 6 cans for €3 or €4 nowadays. It's so readily available. But I suppose it's about getting the people to talk, getting the children to talk, the kids to talk about, if they have that a tendency to go drinking, try and address it somehow or other. And get them to understand. And I suppose that's what we're here tonight for.
Could the local GAA club function without having, say, the sponsorship of the local publican? Because that's inevitably where the winning team ends up going, is to the pub. I mean, it probably sends out the wrongest message you could send.
Yeah, we're sponsored by a bar, and I don't understand be contradicting anybody, but they have a business to run. And I suppose it's not designed for the young people. It's designed for the older people of the community to go in and have a social drink, and if they want to drink to excess, so be it. But there's decisions that have to be made whether a young person's going in and going to get served at a very, very young age. The questions need to be asked of the public and there and then. And I think if that is going on, around the country, you need to cut your ties with, let the team suffer, but cut your ties so that the children won't suffer in the long run.
Okay, thanks, David.